So when we talk about forecasting, do we mean the same thing as a budget? My answer to that is no, we don't mean the same thing. A budget is generally a very prescriptive amount. It's a constraint. Generally, we have a budget when we're saying what our limit on spending will be, or our limit on spending in a particular category will be. So how much we're allowed to spend on advertising, or how much we're allowed to spend on salaries. So a budget is quite restrictive in a way. And it's usually when you've got limited resources that budgets are in place. The forecast, instead, we're looking at predicting what's going to be the impact if we do something different. If we choose to change the way we supply, or if we introduce a new product, or if we increase our prices, what's the impact going to be? And in our forecasting, we can use a number of different scenarios to help us get a better picture of what the impact will be, what the result will be when we make changes to key aspects of our business. So in forecasting, we're doing a lot of really scenarios, a lot of really what ifs, and once we have the basics of that cash flow forecast, or that three-way forecast, because we're extending that forecast from not just the cash position, but looking at our profit and our balance sheet as well. So in that cash flow forecast, or what we're preparing the forecast, what we're doing is we're creating a set of core assumptions about how your business is operating. So how it actually collects from its customers, how frequently it pays for its purchases, how frequently you pay for your employees. Do you have loan repayments or commitments? Do you need to borrow? Do you need to invest in capital? So we're looking at some of those assumptions there. And then what we do with the scenarios is we come up with different variations on that. So we might have a worst case scenario, which is, let's say next year we're planning that our sales are actually going to reduce because everybody's telling us that the economy is tight, sales conditions are bad. What happens if our sales revenue drops by 40%? What's the impact going to be on all of our other expenses and our cash flow and our commitments to paying the loan repayments we've got in place? We might then have an expected result, which could be our middle of the road. Okay, if nothing changes and we keep going, what's our cash position going to be? What's our forecast profit going to be? We should also go a bit more ambitious and say, well, hang on, we've got a goal of increasing our sales. So we might be looking at, are we increasing volume or are we increasing price? And we might want to know what's going to get us the best result, what's going to be the easiest. Because if we increase price, are we going to lose customers? If we increase volume, how are we going to do that? We might have to reduce price. So we can look at those scenarios and come up with a best case scenario. So we might look at 3 different scenarios for your business. So why is three-way forecasting important? It's because we want to know with some certainty, if we choose a course of action, if we choose to make changes to our business, changes to our operations, what's going to be the impact of that? And with that forecasting, we can actually create the scenarios, we can actually model what's going to happen. So we can adjust those inputs depending on different situations or different questions we're going to ask. And we can see what the impact's going to be. And that's very helpful in determining whether we should actually go and do that course of action. Should we increase our price, or should we use a different supplier, or should we introduce a new product? We can get a very good picture of what the outcome's going to be before we make the decision. So we make our decision based on some sensible data, informed result to help us decide whether we should proceed or hold back or change what we want to do, change our plan of attack. So the forecasting is really important step in growing your business and understanding your cash flow and actually controlling your cash flow. Because if our projections identify that we've got an issue with profit or cash flow, we know what we need to work on before we proceed down that path. And this is where the value really comes in. So a lot of business owners only look at a cash flow or a forecast situation when the bank requires it. And look, that's great, but that's really reactive. And it's only to get that loan situation. What we want is every business owner should be in control of their financial situation as much as possible. So knowing what your outcomes are going to be from the actions you take. Then you can actually be better placed to know when you're going to need finance, when you're going to need to seek some injections of cash, or whether you can actually create a cash buffer. So you can use your modeling, your financial forecast to actually predict what's the cash flow impact of making a change. And when we see that, we've got a lot more control over our situation and we know yes or no. It's a lot easier to make those decisions. It's a lot easier to understand the implications of the decisions we're making today. Now, a lot of people put off this forecasting, this three-way forecast of cash, profit, and balance sheet because they think it's a big exercise. It's too costly. It's too much work involved. Now, here's where the advantage is. Once we set this process up for your business using your data, your inputs, your assumptions, it's easy to make changes. It's easy to adjust the scenarios moving forward. So instead of becoming a big annual exercise, we work with our clients and we adjust these forecasts on a quarterly basis to the projections going forward. So even if things are different to what we expected in the last quarter, we can make the adjustment going forward based on known history, and we can remodel our likely outcomes for the next period. And that gives us a lot more comfort, a lot more control, and really improves the quality of your decision making. You can make good decisions when you've got good quality data to help you. So this process of continually adjusting your forecasts as we go through the financial year and even year on year, you'll hear that referred to as a rolling forecast. So what we're doing is we're taking a core set of assumptions, and each time we review your financial information, which might be monthly or quarterly or even annually, but really if you're looking at cash, if you're serious about measuring your cash and improving your cash, should be at least quarterly, ideally monthly, but these rolling forecasts are adjusted. So you've got a good picture as you're going through. You're updating the information as you go, as your business progresses through each year. You've got updated information. It really helps you adjust your strategy, adjust what you're doing in your business to meet the different conditions, but you're doing that from an informed basis. You know what the outcomes are going to be because you've mapped it through your forecasting. So there's some side effects, or should I say, there are some advantages from doing this forecasting process or this review process on your business. One is, if we look at how quickly you get paid, so let's assume that your business invoices for its work and you get paid at a later date. If we understand how your customers react, how they respond, how they pay you, then we can adjust your modeling on that basis. And if we identify that that's going to cause a cash flow issue, then what we need to focus on is actually, what is your debt collection strategy? What is your sales strategy? Should you be moving more of your customers to pay on order, pay on delivery, and that will improve your cash flow? And what's the effect going to be? How are we going to see that? So it's a good opportunity to look at your debtors process and really help you nail down the strategy there on how you're going to make that more effective. One question we often get asked is, why is my business not able to generate the cash that I need to fund my lifestyle? Why is the business not able to provide that cash to me? And this is where we can actually plan those cash flow needs, your personal cash flow needs, whether it's through your wages or drawings or dividends, depending on the structure of your business. But we can actually plan for your cash flow needs. So if we know what you need to be drawing from the business on a regular basis, and we work the models to show the profit and cash flow of your business, those outcomes are not enough to provide for the level of cash drawings that you need from the business or cash funding through wages, dividends, then we need to adjust your overall business strategy. And this is where this is really powerful, because we can actually identify that the business is not delivering the cash flow or the profit that you need to fund the lifestyle that's really important to you. So then that highlights the other areas of the business that you need to work on, and we can help you with that as well. How much funding do you need? Do you actually need to borrow? Should you borrow? Do you have too much borrowing? We often see a lot of businesses that are carrying cash in their bank account, not earning any interest. At the same time, they've got loans paying interest at a much higher rate. So there's a difference there. So this cash in the bank should be working towards reducing that debt. So we need to identify, if that's the case, how do we do it? Now, your cash flow might be cyclical or seasonal. So you'll have ups and downs in your cash position. And so how do we manage that, particularly if you've got borrowings? Okay, do your loan obligations, your repayment obligations match the cycle of how you receive cash in your business? Because if you're seasonal cash flow, depending on your business, then having a regular fixed monthly payment off your loan, or an expectation that you reduce that loan balance on an even basis, isn't going to work. So when we understand your cash flow, when we understand how your business operates, and this is what we're uncovering during this forecasting process, we can identify whether you've got the right kind of borrowing, whether you've got the capacity to pay the borrowing on time, and whether you actually need that borrowing to start with. So it's really powerful in having a look at your debt position and how much capital you've got in your business. How much do you need? So in this three-way forecasting, just recapping, there are 5 key parts to the process. One is your budgeting and cash flow forecasting. The second is scenario planning, where we look at different situations. What will happen if we do X, which might be raising prices, changing our product, changing our supplier, reducing our costs? What will happen if we do X? So that's our scenario planning. It helps us with managing our cash flow because we understand the timings, the peaks and troughs of our cash flow against our outgoings and our commitments. And that leads into how we manage loans, how we manage our debt, our capital position, and we can do that from a more informed position, and also understanding our pricing or the impact of pricing changes on our cash flow and profit, as well as the situation of how quickly our customers pay us. So the question for you is, would your business benefit from having a better understanding of your cash flow, your profit, and your balance sheet position? Would you be better off knowing the outcomes of your decisions in advance? Would you be better off from a cash flow position if you understood what happens in your business when you change sales, when you change costs, when you change suppliers? The answer to that is yes, your business would be better off. So then the question is, why haven't you done it yet? Or how do you get started? How do you get started today with preparing these three-way forecasts? Well, if you're interested, reach out to us and contact us through the link, and we can get started working with you to improve your cash flow position, improve your business position, and create a great business that meets all the needs for why you went into business in the first place.